Say yes.
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 Just say yes. You know you want it. Just say yes. Say yes. Yes.
Can anybody guess what the name of our new series is? Might be Say Yes. I'm not 100% sure at this point. But over the next 4 weeks, what I'm going to be challenging you to do is to say yes to the things of Jesus. Ultimately, our goal with this entire series is heart change. And every time I stand up here and talk, every single Sunday that I stand up here and talk, I want our hearts to change. I want our hearts to bend toward Jesus. And everything that we do, every aspect of our life, every facet, every place that we go, everywhere that we drive, everything that we see, everything that we look at, I want our hearts to mimic the heart of Jesus. I want us to be like Jesus. And in order for us to do that, we have to say yes in a lot of things. We have to say yes in a lot of different ways. And you might be saying like, hey man, we're good. Like, we're good. We don't need to do anything where I'm already like, I come to church, I'm sitting here, I'm doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, and my heart is fine. But I would challenge that with Genesis chapter 8, verse 21, which says, every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. So good luck with your heart right now. And you know what's funny about your heart? It's the only part of your body that will one day literally attack and kill you. It will literally attack you and you will be lying on the ground wondering what happened, and you're going to think for a second, my heart that I trusted for so long has attacked and killed me. Is that not confounding to you? It is to me, all right? So we need to change our hearts because our heart directs us where we go. Our heart dictates the words that come out of our mouth. Our heart maps out what we do with our life. And so I want us to make sure that we're saying yes to Jesus so that our hearts will change and our hearts will shift and our hearts will mimic the life of Jesus. After all, the Bible says that we're made in his image. And so I want our hearts to reflect that. Today we're going to look at a passage in Matthew chapter 28. And so if you'll grab the Bible in the seat pocket in front of you, you can turn to page 811. Or you can use the YouVersion Bible app, or if you've got it memorized, just index that part and go there. All right? Does anybody have the entire Bible memorized? No, I didn't think so. Okay, good. So Matthew chapter 28, and here's how I'm going to run this today. All right? So Matthew 28 verses 1 through 15. I'm just going to read, and we're going to follow along with that because we need some background for the last 4 verses of Matthew chapter 28. So they're not going to be on the screen, but the last 4 verses of Matthew 28 are going to be on the screen. So we're going to really dive into those last 4 verses. So Matthew chapter 28, looking for Matthew at the top of the page and the big number 28, and we're going to start reading right there. Now, in context of what we're looking at, Jesus has already been crucified. Jesus has already died. Jesus has come down from the cross and been buried in the tomb. And so we're picking up the story right after that, right after the events of Jesus' crucifixion have occurred. We're going to pick up the story right there in Matthew 28. Ready? Here we go. After the Sabbath, at dawn, on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. Now, you might be asking yourself, who is the other Mary? I'm not 100% sure I know, all right? But what a terrible title for that person. The other Mary. Who's that with you? Oh, this is the other Mary. All right, anyway. Verse 2. When they went to the tomb, right, there was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. I want to point something out here. In verse 2, when he says, an angel of the Lord, we know that that is not a reference to Jesus, because when Jesus made his Old Testament appearances, it said, the angel of the Lord. So there's a very different thing going on here. Jesus got some other stuff going on. He can't be doing what this angel's doing. He had to send somebody over there to do that for him. So an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. They straight passed out. The angel said to the woman, what? Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen. How? 4 words. Just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you. Okay, so the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell the disciples. Okay, this is hilarious to me. This is why Jesus is a comedian. This is a full-time comedian, all right? So he's talking to these ladies at the tomb. He sends them on their way to go and do what he's supposed to do. And in verse 8, the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to his disciples. Suddenly, Jesus met them. Greetings! So they're running from the tomb where they had just encountered Jesus, and then Jesus does this appearing act in the middle of the road. I just think that's funny. Oh, okay, just me. All right. Greetings, he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee where they will see me. While the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and reported to the chief priests everything that had happened. When the chief priests had met with the elders and what? Devised a plan, they gave the soldiers a large sum of hush money, telling them, you are to say, his disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. If this report gets to the governor, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble. They had to satisfy the governor and keep him out of trouble because they would have killed them instantly if they had known they had abandoned their post. So the soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed, and the story has been widely circulated among the Jews to this very day. Okay, everybody got what's going on? Angel, tomb, Jesus, appearing act, all that, okay? Now, the disciples are going to the mountain. They're going to Galilee, to the place where Jesus has said to meet them. And that's where we pick it up in verse 16. Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. This is one of the most powerful statements, I think, in the entire Bible. The 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. Okay, so they were obedient. They met Jesus at the place where Jesus told them to meet him. So they hear that, right? But when they saw him, they worshiped him. They worshiped him. I don't know what they did. Maybe they bowed down. Maybe they got on their feet. Maybe they fell prostrate with their face to the dirt. But the honest portion of this is that some doubted. Some doubted. Now, let's be honest, okay? This would have been equivalent to seeing something crazy go down at Walmart, and you look at your friend and you go, what is happening? Okay? That's the equivalent of what was going on here. Some doubted. Now, I don't know if they doubted what they were seeing in Jesus or if they were doubting themselves, but let's examine that bit for a second. Let's say that they were doubting Jesus. If they were doubting Jesus, first of all, we have to remember there was no reason for them to ever have doubted him. He is literally proven by his action every word that he ever said. But I want us to cut these dudes some slack because something spectacular was happening right in front of their eyes. And if we had been there, I imagine that it would have been difficult for us to accept the things that we were seeing as well. Their hope had come to fruition. They had hoped that Jesus would come back from the dead. And so when their hope came to fruition, they were now standing there confronted face to face with the thing that they had hoped for. Have you ever hoped for something huge and then when it actually happened, you were like, what am I going to do? I wanted to get into college. I wanted to go into ministry. I got accepted to Roanoke Bible College. Thankfully, they didn't look at our SATs very closely. But I got accepted in there, and I was super pumped about it, and I wanted it so bad and so hard. And then I got all of the syllabus stuff on like Monday of school, and that night I called my mommy to say, I can't do this. This is too much. I'm crying on the phone, and she's like, suck it up, buttercup, do your thing. And okay, not really, but like, you know, she was encouraged. But this is the thing. You wanted it, you got it, now what? Okay, and so the disciples are standing there with this spectacular thing happening, and this spectacular thing going on. Man, I think that all of us in this room would have had some strains in our brain of like, this is crazy. Like, I don't know if this is really real. You guys get what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of times we look at the Bible, at the stupid stuff that the disciples did, and we go, what idiots! If I was there, I blah, blah, blah. But that's not really how it would go. Because human beings are the same idiots today as they were back then. Right? We make the same dumb mistakes today as they did back then. And so I want to cut these guys some slack. But maybe they doubted Jesus. Maybe they doubted themselves. Maybe they were asking themselves, can we do this? I mean, who are we to even do this? I mean, you got fishermen, you got tax collectors, you got a whole slew of people who were not qualified to do stuff for Jesus. But Jesus says this to them. All authority, let's keep going, let's read the next verse. Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you. And surely I am with you for how long? Always, to the very end of the age. I am with you always to the very end of the age. So he's saying, listen, you may be doubting in me, you may be doubting yourself, we're not going to debate that too much, but Jesus is saying, I have authority, I have power, I have ability to get these things done. All you have to do is say yes. All you have to do is say yes. Oh, and by the way, I will be with you always to the very end of the age. So I got your back, I'm here for the long haul, let's get going. Just say yes. And he wants them to say yes to going out and making disciples, to baptizing people, to being obedient to the words that he has said. Jesus wants us to say yes to outreach. I think that is the theme of this passage. Jesus wants us to say yes to outreach. Now, outreach is one of those kind of Christian-y church words that we use in church a lot. So what does outreach mean? Here's how I want you to imagine the word outreach and how it applies to the context here. The church, let's imagine the church is a lifeboat, all right, where you get a lifeboat. A lifeboat isn't like the boat you go cruising in. It's the one that happens when there's problems. Okay, so the church is the lifeboat. The ship has gone down. People are in the water. Some of them are drowning in life. Some of them are flapping through life. Some of them are doing the breaststroke. I don't know, whatever they're doing. And the church is that lifeboat, and Christians are in that boat, and we reach out to pull people in. That's outreach. And so I think Jesus wants us to say outreach, to say yes to outreach, to be people who are pulling people into the lifeboat of Jesus, of the church. Jesus wants us to say yes to outreach. But some of us need to kind of take a step back. And first, before we start talking about saying yes to outreach, we need to first say yes to Jesus. And what I mean by that is some of you in this room, you've been coming here for a long time. You know about Jesus. You've listened to the stories. You believe in Jesus, but you've never said yes to Jesus. You've never said yes to baptism. Should I call you out by name? Should we do? Okay, no. Lydia, no, don't do that. Okay, I won't do that. I won't do that. But you know who you are. And so what I want to do today is just kind of cut the crap. And I want to remove some obstacles. And so if you've been on the fence and you haven't been doing anything and you know that you want to say yes to Jesus, but you just haven't gotten off the fence to do that, and you're like, oh, well, maybe today, but I didn't bring any clothes. Guess what? Clothes. The water's warm, and we can do this today. Jesus wants us to say yes to outreach, but first, man, Jesus wants us to say yes to him. And so if you're that person who needs to say yes to Jesus and have your sins forgiven, I don't know why you would wait beyond today. Okay, 2 reasons that Jesus wants us to say yes to outreach. The first is to change their eternities. I am one of those old school people who still happens to believe that if you leave this earth without Jesus, that you spend eternity in a place called hell. It is not a good place. It has never been used in a happy sentiment or talk or thought or anything. And so if you're one of the people like me who still believes in this place, I still believe what the Bible says about hell. I still believe that people who go to their grave without Jesus go there for eternity. If you're one of those people, then we need to be inviting people to Jesus so that we can help them change their eternities. The atheist comedian / magician Penn Jillette says this: how much do you have to hate someone to believe in hell and not tell them how to avoid it? It's a big question. However, I don't think hell is our primary motivator. Hell was never Jesus' primary motivator. Love was Jesus' primary motivator, and I think it should be ours as well. So we want to say yes to outreach to help change people's eternities. We also want to say yes to outreach to change their lives. The love of Jesus is our primary motivator. We want people connected to and living with the love of Jesus. Lives change when we encounter Jesus. I mean, in this room alone, I know that there are lives that have been changed. People who came to Jesus, gave their life to him, and your life has been changed. You've totally shifted the course of your life because of what Jesus has done in you. And I put this out on Facebook. I wanted to see what people would say. And I want to read you what a few people said this week on Facebook. Brittany Thompson, before being saved, I had a lot of bitterness and anger toward a lot of people that have harmed me physically, emotionally, and mentally. Since walking with Christ, I do not feel that way anymore. I feel closer and wholeness. I am healing every day without holding the grudges. Is she done with that? No, of course not. It's a process of growth, right? Let's see who the next one was. It's hard to see. I honestly thank Jesus every single day for helping guide my heart and feet to where I am now. At a very low point in my life, I finally surrendered to him. And almost overnight, weight lifted from my shoulders. He answered my prayer and filled my heart with excitement, knowing the closeness I felt toward him was just the start. It's something I thrive on now. The old me would still be searching for such fulfillment. Let's see who the next one is. I'm going to start at the middle there. The choice to follow Jesus led me to Central New York, led me to meet my husband and therefore have a family. I have been able to endure hardships that would have previously shattered me by turning my faith and strength over to God. Lives change when we encounter Jesus. Let's see the next one. I didn't know how beautiful or how loved I was. The search was painful on many levels. Man, that's a big life change, to realize how loved you are by God. I think this is the last one. Maybe. I carried a lot of jealousy and frustration in my heart before finding LCC. I felt a lot of discontent with my life and wanted what others had. Jesus was always a part of my life, but I had no idea what that meant until coming to LCC. When I fully accepted him in baptism, I learned to accept that he has a plan for me and that my ups and downs are a part of that plan. Now I know I'm not walking that path alone. Lives change when people encounter Jesus. Let's see the last one here. Leslie.
Call me out.
Well, you posted it on a public outlet. I've always been a planner, and my plan had to fall apart. Anybody ever had your plans fall apart? I've always been a planner, and my plan had to fall apart for me to wholeheartedly surrender to God's unseen plan and guidance through it all. And like grammar is good. Through it all. And I will tell you, I am so thankful every day. His plan is greater than mine. Lives change when people connect with Jesus. Lives change when people connect with Jesus. People become whole. Orphans are put into families. Sinners are forgiven. Peace is afforded. Love is shared. Life has meaning. Hope rises as we face challenges, and joy surges as we realize and know that God loves us. And so we want to say yes to outreach because we want people to encounter this Jesus that we know. I want to share some stats with you. And so if you're a stats nerd, get ready because you're going to love this. I want you to have two definitions before we get into this about people who don't go to church. Okay, so there's a word called unchurched. Unchurched means they've never been to church in their life. And then there's a word de-churched, meaning that something happened and they left at some point. Got that? Unchurched and de-churched. Now, in upstate New York, actually, you know what? I need some volunteers. Can I have some volunteers? I need 9 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right? Come on, just right here. 9 people. Just stand up here. Stand on the first step for me. Get down there. On the first step. That's the first one. Nope, Randall, right here. Yeah, there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope. It's 9 people, right? Okay. Listen to this. In upstate New York, it is a 54% totally unchurched population. Never been to church in their life. 54%. It is the 5th highest de-churched population in the nation. Now, 54% unchurched, 46% believe in Jesus in upstate New York. Of that 46%, 1/3 go weekly, 1/3 go rarely, 1/3 never go. Which means that in upstate New York, 84% of the people do not go to church. Two-thirds of the people who believe in Jesus in upstate New York do not attend. Now, you might be saying, well, upstate New York is a big place. How about Onondaga County? In Onondaga County, there are 608,000 people. 608,000 people in Onondaga County. Give or take some things that might be happening in the hospital right now, okay? 608,000 people. 243,000 people never go to church at all. 243,000 people never go to church at all. 162,000 people go rarely or twice annually, which means that 405,000 people in Onondaga County are not connected to Jesus. Two-thirds of our county do not know Jesus. You see this? Now, I said when you know Jesus, there's hope, and I believe that. Conservative estimates say that anywhere between 65 and 82% of people would go to church if they were invited. So I'm going to split that and call it 70%. 70% of the people say they would go to church if they were invited. That means that you three over here, you're doing work to invite that 66%, because 2/3 of them are facing life without Jesus. And so what that translates to, that 70%, is 283,500 people would come to church if they were invited. Basically, 1/3 of Onondaga County would come to church if it was invited. How many people do you know that don't know Jesus? This is why it is so important for us to say yes to Jesus. All right, you guys can, thank you for being here. even if you're wearing a bunch of bills. I want that number to be seared into our brains right there. 283,500 people would come to church if they were invited. Now, listen. My goal is not church attendance. There's nothing in the Bible that promotes church attendance as the sole thing that we should be going for. Heart change is what we're going for. But church is the biggest front door to Jesus that we have. So, 283,500 people would come to church if they were invited. We have to say yes to Jesus. And when we say yes to Jesus, we need a strategy to get that happening. Our outreach strategy to pull people into the lifeboat is very simple. We call it Pi Squared, but really it's pray, invest, invite. You've heard me say pray, invest, invite here before. I stole it from another church. It's not original, but it is a plan for us to bring that 283,500 people into the arms of Jesus. If we find someone to pray for, and this is what I want you to do. If you're going to employ our pray, invest, invite strategy, here's some things you can do as you pray. Pick one or two specific people and start praying for them. Start praying for an opportunity for you to serve them. Start praying for an opportunity for you to open your mouth and say, hey, I got this great church you might be interested in one day. Start praying for them and their family and their life, and for God to just straight up infect them through you, and so you can tell them about Jesus. Pray for them specifically to have an open heart. Now, I want to address, maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you're one of the ones who maybe hasn't even said yes to Jesus. I would say start praying for yourself. And that's okay to pray for yourself. Sometimes we think that self-care is selfish, and it's not. And so praying for yourself, like, God, if you're really there, man, it'd be cool if you would help me get over these obstacles. I think you should be doing that. So, you can be praying for others to have an open heart. You can be praying for yourself to have an open heart. This is saying yes to outreach. Some things that you can do as you invest in other people. You can ask them to hang out, okay? Investing is not hard. It's not the most difficult thing in the world. Hang out with them. Ask them out to golf. Go to Dave & Buster's and spend $1,000. I don't know. I feel like you can't get out of Dave & Buster's under $1,000. And I got tickets and some cheap garbage from the glass container. It's like Dave & Buster's is the fair. It's $100 and you have nothing to gain from it. Right. But anyway, take them to Dave & Buster's or someplace better. I don't know. Take them to dinner. Do something. Invest in them. Serve them in some way. All right. It's about to be leaf season and shoveling season. All right. You've had about 6 months off from doing all that nonsense, and it's about to be leaf season and shoveling season. What if you go over to your neighbor's house and you shovel their driveway, and at the same time you are praying for them to find Jesus? Guess how that's going to happen? Through you. It's going to happen through you, and through you investing in them. Maybe offer free babysitting or just spend time with them. Here's some things that you can do as you're inviting people. This one is key, I think. Promise to meet them on time to show them around. I've had this happen before where someone will walk in the door and they're doing this. Like for 12 minutes, and then I go, hey, what's going on? Are you looking for someone? And they're like, oh yeah, I was supposed to meet so-and-so, but they're not here, of course. Right? How much does that suck for the person that you've invited, that you have left them hanging in a completely new environment with a bunch of strangers? All right, I'm not trying to beat you up or anything. Just be on time. Grow up and be on time to stuff. Or early, even better. All right? Jesus wants you to be early for everything. But promise to meet them on time, show up before them, and show them around the church. Or, better yet, come on a day other than a Sunday and show them around the building. That's totally normal and totally acceptable. And we actually do that quite a bit as a staff. And so if you want to invest, invite, and get somebody here, take back the curtain, so to speak. And if you come during the week and they can walk around without 1,000 things going on and somebody's kid running down the hall and spilling coffee, that whole nonsense, right? Show them during the week if you want to invite them. Send them a link to a message that I've done or that has been done here. Now, don't just do that randomly. Do that after you're praying for them, after you're investing in them, after you've brought this up, right? Don't just be like, here's a Jesus clip for you, right? Okay, just everybody cool out on that, okay? Bribe them. Yes, seriously, bribe them with brunch or lunch or dinner or breakfast or whatever it might be. Bribe them. Or better yet, set up a lunch between you, them, and me or another staff member and pay for it. Seriously. If you're doing this, we're talking about investing. If you're doing this sort of thing, open your wallet up just enough to pay for some daggum tacos, all right? And then maybe a great conversation can be had, okay? So, honestly, it releases the tension to do that, to do something like that. If they meet somebody who goes to church ahead of time, or if they see the building ahead of time, it releases some pressure. It is difficult to walk into a place, and I'm literally Rob Draker might be the world's biggest extrovert. I might be the second. I don't know. It is still uncomfortable to walk into a place where a bunch of people want to talk to you and you don't know any of them. It's hard. And so please understand that it's totally okay to bring people around, to introduce them to people ahead of time, while you're praying, while you're investing, while you're inviting them. We all know what Jesus means to us, and we all know what our lives wouldn't be without him. We need to say yes to outreach by inviting people to come to church with us. 283,500 people. And so today, I'm going to ask you to say yes to Jesus by either saying yes to baptism or saying yes to outreach. And the reason that I think it's worth it is because people get to meet Jesus. And he is fantastic. Say yes to baptism or say yes to outreach. Now today, as we go into our time of communion, we have a little, I call it activity, call it illustration, call it something for you to touch, taste, feel, whatever. Communion is just a little bit of juice and a cracker to help us remember what Jesus did on the cross for us. And today, what we want to do is during this time be praying and asking God to give us or show us the person that we're going to start reaching out to. On each table, there's 2 tables on the side and a gluten-free option on the back table. Each table has a basket and some markers. And so every basket has a little rock in there. And what I would have you do is just take a rock, take a Sharpie, write that person's name on the rock. Very simple. And just put it back in your pocket. And then throughout the week, put it somewhere that you'll see it. Maybe on your bathroom counter. Actually, put it somewhere where they won't see it. Because you talk about creepy. Why is my name on that rock, dude? What are you doing with that? All right, so just put it somewhere where they don't see it. But that every time you see it or you touch it, you think, oh, that's right, I need to pray for so-and-so. So I'm going to dismiss you to the tables to take communion, to be praying for God to open up your heart and mind to him so that we can say yes to him, so that we can say yes to outreach. Go ahead.